Hi everyone, this is Lada from astrolada.com, and today I'm here with a really special person, my teacher and friend Ernst Wilhelm. Hi Ernst.
Hi, Lotta. Thanks for inviting me, and it's so good to see you.
Thank you for coming. I've wanted to do this interview for a long time.
Mhm.
I just want to make a small introduction. Many people already know who Ernst is. If you're into astrology, you've seen his videos. He's known as one of the most prolific astrologers of this century, probably the most knowledgeable as well. Ernst is reviving ancient Vedic astrology. It's bringing it to the next level. And Ernst has also revived a very ancient system of cards, which are called the cards of truth, which we're going to talk about today. But I just wanted to first say that Ernst is the person that I give 100% thanks for my career and through everything that I've achieved, because he was with me from the start. When I started, when I had self-doubts, he was helping me with knowledge. He was helping me with friendly advice when I was falling apart and divorcing and all those and being very unhappy. He was there next to me with emails and support. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being this friend, for being my guru teacher, and such a fantastic person. So anyway, after this introduction.
Or I have to say, though, you were always just I just loved being in touch with you back in those days when we weren't so busy, when we had a little more time to chat and talk. And I never felt like I was helping you at all. I thought we were just having a good time.
It was a good time. That was the only
Yeah.
thing I was looking forward to in between the tears and the falling apart stages I had.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Well, it was wonderful for me too.
Thank you again. And Ernst, as you know, is also Aries sun like me. His
Yeah.
both his Aries planets in Gate House. He's natural born occultist. That's why you've developed the cards of truth. Can you tell us a
Sure.
little bit of that? Because these are not like tarot cards where you draw cards. This is from the moment you're born, all your sets are determined, aren't they? You can check till
Mhm.
the end of your life every day what cards you're gonna have. It's a pattern that it's not like
Yeah.
you're pulling random cards.
Yeah, what it is, the system, I call it cards of truth. And in my system, I do cards reading too, like casting. But then there's a system that's like an astrology system where we take your birth time and we take your birth date. And this system started becoming somewhat popular in the late 70s because a guy who used the system, he kind of got a little well known, and someone did a magazine article on him about the 76 Olympics and the tennis team. And he predicted that, well, no one's going to win. None of these guys are going to do well. It's like they all have like just normal everyday spreads during the Olympics. He goes, but it doesn't look like you're going to lose either. And he was very confused. And then the 76 Olympics got canceled. The United States didn't go to the 76 Olympics. So these athletes, instead of being at the Olympics winning or losing, they were doing just what their cards showed. They were just having their normal lives, on
Wow.
those days. They were just not even at the Olympics. And so that made the system, gain some recognition on a public scale. And at that point, a lot of other people tried to evolve the system because it was taught as a very simple system. Robert Camp is the main teacher of it, who's been the most prolific in writing about it. But there's been a few other people who've tried to develop it. But what all those people have done is they've approached it from a limited astrological point of view. And it is truly an astrological system because we do take your day of birth, and I also take the time of birth as well. So based on this system, what happens is every person becomes a card of the playing card. There's 52 cards in the deck, and everyone becomes one of those cards. So you might be a seven of diamonds, an eight of diamonds, a seven of clubs, a queen of hearts, and that's your birthday card. On your every day of the year, there's a certain card that is that day.
Who determined that? Is that like an ancient system?
Um, that system is supposedly ancient, but it wasn't something that was first brought to light until the late 1800s.
Was it kept in a more secret
It
mystery?
was kept very secretive until the late 1800s. And at the time, there's one person, he basically had something called the solar value of the day. And based on the solar value of the day, we associate it to the card because the card has a solar value. So like the Ace of Hearts, for instance, has a solar value of number 1. And so the Ace of Hearts day is when you have a solar value day of 1. So it is based on the sun, basically, solar value. And the deck of playing cards is really considered to be a playing, is considered to be like a calendar. So, we have 52 cards in the deck, right?
Uh-huh.
And we have 52 weeks in the year. And then we have 4 seasons of 13 weeks. And each season, or each suit, we have 4 suits in the cards, right? Aces, hearts, diamonds, and spades. And then we have 13 cards in every suit.
So it's very esoteric. Cards were created as a calendar, basically.
Exactly. So they literally are a calendar. And so because they are a calendar, we can find the card you were born under. And it's fun to know your card you were born under. That's kind of like saying your moon's nakshatra. But it's a little more precise than that even, because with nakshatras, we have 27 nakshatras. So the moon nakshatra will differentiate people into 27 different categories, right? But with the cards, because we have 52 cards, your birth card differentiates you into 52 categories.
Yeah.
So it'll create a bigger difference. It'll differentiate the people more, which makes it a little more specific to the person. Okay. And of course, it's kind of like the sun signs, but sun signs is 1 out of 12 people is the same sun sign. But so it's much more specific than sun signs or that. And so just knowing the person's birth card, you know a lot about the person. You can calculate their birth card simply based on their day of birth. Okay. But the real magic of the system is something called the quadration. So the quadration is, first, the cards have an order. They start with the Ace of Hearts, they go through the hearts, and then they go to the clubs, and then they go through the diamonds, and they go through the spades. And that's their order in solar value, from 1 for the Ace of Hearts to 52 for the King of Spades. Okay, and that's the 52 cards. So we take them in that order, and we arrange them in basically a square. Okay, and squares formation. Then we pick up those cards in a certain order and lay them back out in a certain order, and that's called a quadration. And so once that's done, we get a spread that's a unique pattern of how the cards are related. And that pattern is basically the pattern of life manifesting itself.
It's like a matrix, kind of.
It's a matrix. Mm-hmm. And in that pattern, the cards are arranged in all kinds of different ways. So it's not like the cards are arranged in a linear order or anything like that. So in the original spread, yes, it's Ace of Hearts to Queen of Spades. But after we do the first quadration, we have a mix of cards. Now, that mix of cards literally relates to Vishnu having manifested himself as the entire world. Okay, the cards, the spread of cards where we go from Ace of Hearts to to King of Spades, that's literally Brahma in his mathematical model of creating the world, which creation is mathematically perfect. But once we're alive, it's mathematically things appear to fall apart. Everything seems random, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's the nature of Vishnu. He's manifesting himself into different things.
There are too many permutations to predict.
Yeah, and so that spread is what we call the well, different people call it different things. Okay, I like to call it the queen spread after the cards because the queen represents that same energy. But some people call it the solar spread. That's one of the common names. Basically, it's the first quadration from the original spread. Now, based on that spread, we find where your card is in the spread. And so if your card's in a certain place, after that, there's 13 cards following it. Those 13 cards are your birth spread for this lifetime.
And it stays with you throughout.
It stays with you throughout your life. And then that spread, like actually, let me just pull this up. Let me pull your chart. I meant to do this, but then we had the technical problems.
Yes, you have software that calculates all those things, don't you? The Kala software. I have it. I want to learn them.
Yeah. We have it in our software, the Kala software, the calculation for it. And then we also...
you don't even have to learn how to do it. You just open the charts and it opens your
yeah, you can just look at it. So of course you're an 8 of diamonds person.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's your birth card. And 8 of diamonds is the card of, imagine like a seed that's fallen to the ground. It's just waiting for the conditions to get right. And when the conditions are right, it blooms into a wonderful tree and a flower, etc. It gives life. But it's just waiting there. So an 8 of diamonds person is a person who's got an incredible amount of talents and abilities. And they're just waiting for the season to get right, the amount of rain to be right, for the soil to be right, everything to be right. And then boom, there's no stopping them. Okay.
Wow.
And so that's how 8 of diamonds people's lives tends to be. And then after that, we have 13 cards that follow that. So you have one card, the first card after that's ruled by the sun.
Okay.
And that for you happens to be the King of Spades. Then the card after that is the Moon card. That's a 3 of Hearts for you. After that is your Mars card, which is the 8 of Clubs. After that is the Mercury card, which is the Queen of Clubs. Then a 10 of Spades Jupiter card. Then the 6th card from there is the Venus card. That's the 5 of Clubs. And then we have the Saturn card, which is a 3 of Diamonds. Then we still have a few other cards after that. We have a Rahu and Ketu card. We have your ecliptic card, which is the path that planets travel on, the ecliptic. And then we also have a Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto card, okay? So we literally have 13 cards that are governing your life. Now, different people who use this system will arrange these cards differently. And I personally, one of the things I did trying to revive this system into a more powerful system is I related the cards astronomically.
Mm-hmm.
The other people try to do this, I don't think they really knew astrology that well, because they basically have 5 cards ruled by planets, and then different people disagree about what the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th card is, and even how many cards to have. And so they make up some names for cards of things that really don't exist astronomically. Okay. So with my system, everything's scientifically, astronomically sound, and it all works astronomically. So I try to turn it to a more astronomically correct system. So, but once we get these cards, whatever system you work with, whoever school you learn this system with, you always have the same cards following your birth card.
Yes.
But what do those cards represent can be different in different systems, okay? Now, so the problem with that is, at that point, we still only have 52 personalities. We have 52 cards, and each card has 13 cards following it. But every person who's an 8 of diamonds has the very same cards.
In the same order, okay.
So is every diamond an astrologer? You're an 8 of diamonds astrologer. I have another friend who's an 8 of diamonds, and she's an astrologer too. But every 8 of diamonds on earth isn't an astrologer. So you see, it's like, why are you different than the other 8 of diamonds, right? One 8 of diamonds becomes successful at 20, another one does it at 30, another one does it at 40. Why those differences?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the way it's standardly practiced, it's only the intuition that helps a person make those differentiations, because they're looking at the same thing at 25. 2 people who were born on different years, at 25, they're going to be told the same thing.
Yes.
But of course, there'll be some similarities at 25, but the details will be quite different. Maybe they're both lucky. One person is lucky in love, another one's lucky in life at 25. Why is one in love? Why is one lucky in money? One person might get a reward like a gold medal. Another person might just win the lottery. They're both really fortunate in a material sense, but in a very different way. And so with that system, we can't differentiate it. And I've known about this system a long time. I've known some very good card readers. In fact, this system is so powerful that one of the best readings I've ever had was done by a person using this system in this most simple way, without the differentiation. And he did a reading for me. We trade readings. And it was better than any Vedic astrology reading I ever got.
Wow.
Yeah. And he wasn't even using the system in its full power. And one of the things nice about this system, I'll get into that in a minute. So what I did with the system, I wanted to make it more detailed, because to me, I'm thinking, no, it's not differentiated enough. How do I tell 8 of diamonds Lada's life different from the other 8 of diamonds born on the same day, right? Because all of you, everyone born on your birthday, have in your birth year have the same spread. But I don't. The only one of them is talking to me today about astrology, right? So how do we determine that? So what I did is I put the rest of the astronomy in. I put the planets into the spread. So I've got your moon, for instance, is sitting in the King of Spades card. I've got your Sun, Mars, Mercury, and Venus, all, and Uranus, and the 10th cusp, all in the Ace of Clubs spade, Ace of Clubs card. So you've got a loaded Ace of Clubs. Now, Ace of Clubs is all about knowledge and thinking and coming up with fresh ideas and writing, all these things that you're really prolific in, right? It's a card of beginning philosophical things. And it's a card of bringing new things to new people, sharing new ideas with people. So you've got, with 6 things in Ace of Clubs, and also just the way you love learning. And I remember when you start studying my courses, you just zoom through my courses and you use your intellect and you have really fine intellect. That's all given by the club suit. Most 8 of diamonds people aren't as intelligent as you. They don't like to use their minds as much as you do. You use your mind much more because you've got 6 things, 6 astronomical things in your Ace of Clubs card. So that becomes a huge part of your life. Whereas another 8 of diamonds might not have any planets in the Ace of Clubs. And so they'll use that card only in a very minimal sense.
Do you use the birth chart to see how they
What we do is, so we have the Sun card, and we have the Moon card, and we have the Mars card, right? And the Mercury card, the Jupiter card, the Venus card, and the Saturn card.
Yeah.
So if you've got, like for your case, as you've mentioned, you've got a lot of planets in Aries.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those planets that are in Aries go into the Mars card because Mars rules Aries.
Okay. So you take into consideration the astrological chart as well. Amazing.
Yeah, and we don't show the chart, but basically what happens is you got your Sun card and Moon card at top. So you look at the zodiac, you got the Sun and Moon signs first, Leo and Cancer. So that's your Sun card, then your Moon card. Then over here, the next card down, or the next planet is Mars, so we go to Aries and Scorpio. But there's this parallel where if you go to Cancer and Leo, you get Mercury and then Venus, then Mars, then Jupiter and Saturn. So those are always at the same level from the Sun and Moon. And the level we used is based on the turns of the planets, though. So from the Sun and Moon, Cancer and Leo, of course, we got Gemini sign, and then Venus's signs, and then Mars's sign, then Jupiter's signs, and then Saturn signs, right? But we don't put the spread, your card spread, in that order. The order we use is where we manipulate those in a way that creates the turns of the planets. So each planet has a turn where the planet is like, all right, it's my move today, or it's my move now. I'm the one who gets to play his turn. And the Sanskrit word for that is vara, which is the day of the week. So every day of the week, a planet has a turn. Where, like, what day is like Sunday today? Today, Sunday's having his turn at the game of life, okay? And so in the card system, because of the way we do the timing, we put the planets in the order of their turn, okay? So, and then we put the planets in the cards in accordance with the planet that rules them. Okay, so any planet in Aries or Scorpio goes in the Mars card. Any planet in like Venus, like Jupiter and Saturn in your chart are in the signs of Venus, and they're in the Venus card. Okay, so, and it's really powerful. And one thing this card system made me a better Vedic astrologer, in fact, because one of the things we do with this card system to see how like marriage might go, we look at the Venus card.
Yeah.
And if we see good planets in the Venus card, it really helps marriage. And we're not even using the 7th cusp. Just by looking at the Venus card, we learn a lot about a person's romantic life and what they need to be in love. And it's super important. So now when I read Vedic astrology, if someone asks me about love, I look at their 7th house, and I look at Venus, but I also pay attention to Libra and Taurus. Afflicted planets in Libra or Taurus is going to make it harder for them to find fulfillment in love.
Okay. Yes, I
Okay.
understand now.
And so in the card system, we got all the planets in their place, okay, in their signs. And so now everyone becomes different because, you know, from one day to the next day to 1 year to the next year, every 8 of diamonds has planets in different cards now.
Yes.
And then the other thing I do, I also put the ascendant in, and I put the 10th cusp in, you know, the midheaven cusp, and I put all the other Baba cusps, all the other house cusps in too. So for instance, you've got your 7th cusp in the King of Spades. Okay. You've got your 2nd and 9th cusp in the Ace of Clubs. So I got all this information to make the spread very specific to you.
Wow.
Okay, and then the system becomes shockingly accurate. And this system is so accurate, yet it's still so simple compared to Vedic astrology that, you know, I never felt like Vedic astrology is something I would ever try to teach to everyone on earth. Because, you know, you have to really be sort of crazy and really dive into astrology for years like a mad person, right? To be competent at it, to become good at it. Anyone can casually kind of get into it, look at, you know, Lada's videos and say, oh, Mars in this and doing this, let me see my chart. Oh, I have that. Oh, let me see my friends, you know. Anyone can do that. But for someone to actually become a reader who can just grab a chart and read a chart, you have to go crazy about astrology for several years.
Yeah.
And most people, fortunately, aren't that wacko. Otherwise, the world would be in trouble. Most people kind of keep the world floating, you know, keep the world working, you know. But to be a good Vedic astrologer, a person has to spend years where they go into that mode and just lose themselves in it, you know, and live for it. But with the card system, it's such a simple system. It's a system I feel I could teach to anyone, and anyone can become competent at it. Anyone could actually make predictions competently, not just look up, oh, what does this mean with this card, but actually make predictions competently. Whereas making predictions competently with Vedic astrology is a lifelong serious study. It's such a simple system. In fact, it's so simple that when I'm feeling pressured and somebody asks me a question, I just grab their cards. I just grab their spread and rattle the prediction off that most of the time. Just because it's faster for me, and when I'm tired and harried and stressed, because I've got a million things I'm doing, I know I can do a better job with this nice, simple system instead of, you know, being in a stressed out mode and a busy mode and maybe missing something in their chart that's a game changer in their astrology chart. Because, you know, with predicting with Vedic astrology, so many things are happening because when we look at your chart, we see your whole life in that chart.
Mm-hmm.
With the card system, what's beautiful is after we get your birth spread from that first quadration, we do the same maneuver to the cards. We do the same quadration. We pick them up in a certain way, we lay them out in a certain way, and we get a whole new spread. And that spread is for when you turn 1. And it rules from 1 to 2. And we do that for every year of your life. And so every year of your life, you have a whole new spread to look forward to. And then we see how that spread relates to your birth spread, because your birth spread always kind of rules the show, but then every year is different. And it's so amazing. Like sometimes someone won't have a lot of, say they don't have a lot of hearts in their life. So they don't make a lot of connections to people. But then a year comes where they get hearts in their life, and that during that year, they're really, really connected to somebody. And then the next year, those hearts go away and they're not connected anymore. But during that year, all of a sudden, they're just like a heartsy person that's connecting to people, even though normally they're just more an intellectual person. So every year we really do change, we shift a little bit.
That's from birthday to birthday.
Birthday to birthday.
I remember when I was falling apart and I was asking you, oh, will this person would be in my life? And you looked and said, yes, he's in your next year spread their card. And I'm like, there's no way, I don't want to see them. And you said they're there. And they stayed the whole year after that. Very correct. Like no matter what your plans are.
Yeah, and that's what's cool with the system. So say a person's running 3 of diamonds on their Venus card in particular year. And we can see that there's some good relationship stuff going on. There's a really good chance the person they meet is a 3 of diamonds birth card or has a lot of planets in the 3 of diamonds.
Wow.
And it just, the connections are amazing. You can literally, it happens all the time that when I look at my spreads, look at other people's, if I know the people's cards in their life, so if I know about the person, I've done readings and I remember that their girlfriend or their brother or mother is that card, it comes up. And I'll be able to say, yeah, I think it's probably that person because they're this card. They're a 4 of hearts. And they're like, yeah, they're the 4 of hearts. I'm like, yeah, I think it's going to be that person. And it ends up being that person. So you literally can like pick the people that are causing the events to happen in their lives. Or you'll predict something like, yeah, something's going to happen. And when it does, that person who makes it happen is that card. And then you know that's the one I was talking about, that the prediction was made for. So the connections are just so profound. You know, it just constantly blows me away how the cards show this extra level of symbology of these playing cards. And, you know, it just always blows me away to see how accurate it is. And, you know, even in card casting, like, so if you get a deck of cards, you know, you just cast your playing cards. With card casting, I remember once I did a spread for someone, and in the environment card, which shows people that are influencing the situation, we got, I think it was the Queen of Clubs, and it was upside down. So I said, there's a clubs woman who's going to cause problems. And she said, oh, I know someone who's a Queen of Clubs. I wonder if it's them. I said, well, probably, if that's the person, most important clubs in your life. And it turns out that person caused them, you know, starting really like 2 or 3 days later, as soon as she got home, started causing a lot of grief to this person. So we were able to pick the person who was going to cause the problems, actually. And that was through casting cards. But then we knew someone in their life that was that in their birth card. So we used both together, the casting together with the birth card spread. And then you have a super system that you can handle anything with, you know? And the best part is it's easy. If I was just gonna like, you know, want to help people, like do predictions, do readings, and spend all my time just advising people and counseling people, I would probably just do cards, because with astrology, I can spend so much time researching that people want to read it. I'm like, sorry, I'm too busy. My head's stuck in this research hole and I can't pull it out to help you, right? That's what happens all the time when people want readings from me. I'm too mired in the latest research.
Yes.
And if my goal was not to like really develop astrology and try to improve upon it and develop it further, and my goal is just to like counsel people, I would just do it with a deck of cards and my birth card spread. It is that powerful. And I brought a lot of astrological elements to it to make it a really rounded system.
And you have a lot of students that are astrologers who started studying the cards of truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So like in that time that you told me about when you were asking if that person was going to be in your life, well, in one of your cards, that person's birth card was there. And so it was like, yeah, this kind of he'll be there. And so it's such a wonderful system for that kind of accuracy, for that kind of detail. It's kind of like an astrological system where you get the Mars card, which is Scorpio and Aries. You get the Venus card, which is Taurus and Libra. So you could say it's a Venetian type or it's a Martial type. And we do that in astrology. We'll say, oh, it's an Aries type, so it's a Martial type, right? So the person they meet has Mars in the first house and it makes sense or something. But with this system, we get this extra layer of symbols based on the playing cards. So we get 52 extra symbols that are very specific and line up so perfectly with what happens in life. Like, it's shocking to me. I will have someone visit, and their moon card, which is like who you're going to be close to sometimes in a kind of like a companionship, just like a family companionship type way, is the moon card. And they'll be running a 7 of clubs in their moon card the day they show up. And that's my card. And then the next day and the next day, they'll have a 7 of clubs there too. And the next day they leave and they don't have a 7 of clubs there. It's like anytime someone visits me, I always see 7 of clubs come up in their spread somewhere.
You appearing, basically.
It basically means I'm showing up. Or if not that, then it's some other card that's strong in me, like a Jack of clubs, which I'm really strong in. So it's nice to see the connections and predict these connections with this extra level of symbology. And it's all details. See, the hard thing in astrology is the details.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And this system adds the details in the easiest way possible. I mean, it's just, always shocked at how nicely the details line up.
And you can predict to the day. Obviously, there are day spreads that are predetermined from your birth card already. You're not
Yeah.
drawing cards there, pulling cards. It's basically you just pull out the software and it shows you what cards
So,
you're today.
yeah, what we'll do is your birth spread has got 7 periods of the planets, and each of those periods is 52 years long. So you're going to be under your King of Spades with the Moon and Rahu in it until 2033, until you hit 52. That's your really super big window of time. Okay. Then within that, we do something called 7-year progressions. Kind of like, know how we do astrological progressions? So for instance, you're an 8 of diamonds. So let's see, let me get that current here. So you're born as an 8 of diamonds. Then your first progression after that will be, you'll be a 9 of diamonds for 7 years, and then a 10 of diamonds for 7 years.
Right.
And then you'll get a progressed spread, which is 7 years long. Okay. And each of those years, you have a different card. So like for right now, for instance, you are in your, what year is it? Let me see. Let me pull this up right. I just pushed the wrong buttons. I want to make sure I don't say it wrong. Because I don't know how old you are, I have to like reopen your chart for it to tell me. Okay, so for instance, this year, you're in your Ace of Spades progression, which started at 35.
Okay.
So from 35 to 42, it's Ace of Spades, which is about growth of self. It's when the best part of our self emerges under the Ace of Spades. Okay. And at 36, you're in the 7 of Diamonds Moon card. And at 38, you'll be in a 5 of Spades Mars card. So every year it changes. Okay. So the 7 of Diamonds card, this is a card of letting go of the things. There's always a lot of letting go in the 7 of Diamonds. And then that letting go always results in like a boon of some sort.
That's
That's what you're running at the 36th age.
Oh.
Okay. So there's always something that a person gives up that they previously valued, something that they thought was important that they realize isn't that important. And then once they give it up, something else enriches them more. So it's a card of getting rich because of what we give up, of what we let go of.
I had to give up a lot of things.
So, and then next year you'll have a 5 of Spades with the Moon card. The 5 of Spades in the Mars card with the Moon and Uranus. 5 of Spades is a card where a person makes the big changes that they need to take themselves to the next level. So there's always things in the world that are holding us back a little bit. In the 5 of Spades, we go, okay, I'm not going to be held back anymore. I'm going to take that next step into that next big place. So whatever is holding them back, they remove themselves from it.
Wow.
So it's a really powerful year. It could be a really tough year, but yours is in the Mars card. And in the Mars card, it becomes a really a more successful year as a result, because Mars likes hard challenges. So he's courageous, and he's willing to do it. In another place, the 5 of Spades makes a person like kind of get pushed, by life because they resist. But Mars is always ready for the next adventure. So he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take it to the next level.
Like you use your personal willpower. You use
your will. Yeah, it becomes an adventure instead of something you have to do. It becomes an adventure. And so the 5 of Spades is when the person basically grows into the next best version of their self. It's a big card of personal growth, and the struggles that we have that are holding us back. Now we always have things that hold us back in our own minds.
Yes.
The 5 of Spades is where we say, no, I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to fight myself into a better place. I'm going to grow into a stronger, better version of myself.
Wow, I need that.
So it's always a powerful year,
It's basically have to learn the main meanings of each card. This is probably the hardest part, those 52 things that you have to learn and remember.
Yeah. And in your case, too, it's a big card of 5 of Spades can also be a move. And you've got the Moon in it. So this is a good chance of moving or relocating, and to some degree to a better environment. 5 of Spades really wants an environment that's perfect for itself.
Oh, yes. That's what I've been dreaming for.
Okay. So yeah, it should happen, because Mars has a lot to do with your building, your home. It rules your property. And the moon is your home. And Uranus is there with the Four of Clubs. And the Four of Clubs is the perfect home. In fact, right now I'm just getting a house, and my Four of Clubs came up too. Okay, so I think part of this will be a relocation, a move. So every year we get a different spread, or we get a different card based on the progress spread. And then we get, the best thing is the year spread every year. Like I talked about, every year we get a full spread. And that spread, we divide that into 7 planets. And each planet's time period is 52 days. So with this system, it's relatively easy to predict something to a 52-day window.
Wow.
Which is a pretty small window, right?
Yeah.
Most Vedic astrologers will say, okay, your dasha is this, and you'll get married in the antardasha of this.
Within the next 2-3 years, you'll get married. Yeah.
Yeah. And the antardasha can be from a little under 6 months to literally 3.5 years long, 40 months long. It's like, wow, that's a big window, 40 months. 6 months is a nice small window, but with the card system, with the same amount of effort, we can get down to a 52-day window, which is, at that point, you can stop. 52 days, that's a good enough window, right?
Fantastic window.
That's a fantastic. So, but with this, we can go deeper because every day we get a spread for every single day. So for instance, if you're for instance, right now you're running your Jack of Clubs card, okay, from February 21st until your birthday coming up in April.
Isn't that your card?
That's my card. Yeah, that's my card, actually. So hopefully we'll spend more time together in the next 50 days, okay? And I know that, okay, and we started talking about we have to do this last week when the Jack of Clubs came up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, because I know you're in the 52-day window of the Jack of Clubs, I can just go and say, when is the Jack of Clubs day happening? And I can just see, when's the next Jack of Clubs day going to happen? And I know that's going to be an important day for you in this 52-day period. Wow. Okay. Or I can look and see, when does the Jack of Clubs come up in your spread strong, and predict that that's going to be an important day within the 52-day period. So once I know the 52-day period, it's not that hard to find the days that period becomes important. So if I predict you're going to, get money in this 52-day period, it's not that much harder to find the day that card gets triggered, and that's the day I predict the money.
And the beautiful thing is that it's all calculated we do with color. So we just have to see which day this card appears, because you're in the period of that card. So that's
exactly.
And does it work with such specific up to the day?
Yeah, I predict things today all the time on the system.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's great. Now, it's nice to use transits as a backup if you know your astrological transits. But yeah, and I know lots of times, I mean, one of my, the person who probably does the most, my students do the most of this type of card reading are Ganesha and Nicole. They do the most, and Carmina. Those three, they've really focused on this system a lot. A lot of other people learning it, but they're the ones who are using it in their practice. Nicole has the most experience because she was a tarot reader since she was a teenager, so she has more experience with cards. But she all the time is predicting things a day with this system, and she's always telling me, "Oh, I knew this would happen because I had this card and that was that, or they had this card," and she's juggling like 3 or 4 charts and looking for those card similarities and finding that day, and she does it regularly. It's not that hard. It's not like predicting to the day on Vedic astrology. Most Vedic astrologers won't even try it. Yeah, and Nicole, though she's read cards a long time, she didn't start studying this system till about 1.5 years ago.
So that's what I was going to ask. How long does it take to learn that?
Yeah, and Ganesha and Carmina, with no card experience at all, they were doing amazing work with this card system in 6 months.
Wow.
It's so much easier. And I'm always blown away by what they do.
7 years minimum. To start making sense, 7 years is the minimum. And this 6 months, you can acquire an occult knowledge.
And these people went crazy. These people are crazy astrologers. But I think the average person in a year will be competent with the cards. And by competent in the cards, I mean they'll be able to, cast cards, use a deck to cast cards with. And the first part of my courses is you learn to cast cards.
What does that mean, cast?
So you take the cards and you lay them out like tarot reading, but we use playing cards.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we basically just shuffle the deck and lay out the cards and do the reading for the person. That's the first part of the course. The reason I do that first is because that's the best way to get familiar with the meanings of the cards.
Okay, to learn the manifestation.
So in the first card, which is called Reading the Little Book, because the deck of cards is a perfect book of knowledge. 52 cards of perfect knowledge. And I also teach how to read the major arcana cards too, which do come into play in this system. Okay. So once I, and then so I teach how to read the cards, the meanings of the cards, how to understand the meaning of the cards while you're working with them. And so that way you're instantly learning to use them. And every day you can just pull a card from the deck and say, oh, what did I get today? That's my card of the day. And you'll find that whatever card you pulled in the morning will come into your life that day. And then you start feeling the cards every day, right?
Yes.
And that way you really start learning the cards. So that's the best way to learn the cards. So all the information about the cards is taught in the first class. And at the end of that class, I teach how to cast the cards. It's not necessary to cast them. Some people don't want to cast cards and they skip the last chapters where I demonstrate examples of casting cards and show past readings that I've done work with. And they'll just jump to the birth card system. With a birth card course, I call Time and the Little Book, because now we're dealing with the birth time. Okay. Now, in that class, I expect you to know what the meanings of the cards are.
Already.
Okay.
The first part.
But then after that, it's easy because I teach how the calculations are done so you understand it. But it's all done in the software, Kala software. But we also have the Cards of Truth software, which is just $50. And it calculates all this. Yeah. And I wanted to make a cheap, affordable software that anyone can buy. Kala is $250. Kala has taken 20 years to work on. We're still developing it because Vedic astrology is that big. Yeah. The Cards of Truth software, $50 to get started. We are going to have an upgrade. We're going to add a compatibility module, at which point it'll be $75. But anyone can upgrade for $25 to the one with the compatibility, which is coming out in a few months. So we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. So a 15-year-old could afford it,
yes,
from his Christmas money. So, and we also have a free
app as well, maybe on the phone.
We are working on an app eventually, but we also have a free calculator that does the very basics at cardsoftruth.com.
Okay, so you can go there and find your card. What else?
It'll show you your card, your life spread, and your current year spread.
Fantastic! So people can start from there.
Yeah, and I tell people to start with that.
Cardsoftruth.com.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go and start.
One of the first things I did in astrology was back in 1997. I really worked on the Vedic method of compatibility as I taught about the moons, because that was a technique that wasn't really used properly, and I felt it had to work better. So I worked with it and I developed a way to use it in a very modern way that's really insightful. And that was always my favorite compatibility system. But then when I developed the compatibility system for the cards, I like it better. Wow. Overall, I like it better. What I love about it is that you'll compare it like people's cards. We'll say, okay, what's your sun card and what's your sun card? Are you guys' sun cards compatible cards? If they're compatible cards, people can build a good career together. Then I'll look at their Venus cards. What's your romantic need? What's their romantic need? Are your cards compatible to where you can share your romantic need? And I find in every relationship that doesn't work, either the emotionally centered cards are bad or the materially centered cards are bad. So the cards that are helping you build your material life, the primary ones, are Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter. Okay? Then the cards that are giving you your fulfillment and your emotional experiences are the Moon and Venus. Yeah. Then the cards that help you deal with the shit in life are Mars and Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when we look at when we look at the moon and Venuses in the spread, we look at the cards and the planets. If those are compatible, people have a really nice emotional connection. Okay. But if they don't have Jupiter, Mercury, and Sun solid, they won't be able to make their lives work in a practical way, and eventually they'll have to stay. Eventually, they separate.
Yes. Okay. Yes. If it doesn't.
And so, a lot of relationships that I see ending, it's like that. They got the emotional connection, but they just can't make their lives work together, and eventually they have no choice but to separate. And those people usually they separate and come back, separate and come back, because emotionally they get sucked in. They can't help it. Then if I see people on the other end of the failed relationships is when they've got the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter nice, and those cards nice, but then Venus and Moon aren't connecting. And so emotionally they can't make it work, and there's always something missing. They're always longing for something.
They have the same goals. Maybe they can work great as a family to raise the kids, but there's not connection there.
Yeah, and they'll be successful. Their lives work together. So of course we want to see some good compatibility on both of those levels, right? And again, we don't need the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter all to be good, but just one good, one not so good, and one average is plenty good. Yes. We need something there to make it and saying we don't need Moon and Venus to be perfect. We need one good and one at least pretty good or decent, you know. But we can compare different areas of life, and we can say, oh, you're good at Venus things, you're good at these things. And the level of detail I can get from the compatibility is greater than anything with astrology.
Wow.
So it's really, really cool. So, I mean, it's just such a super system. And what I like about it too is, you know, decks, casting. I love casting cards with the deck. You know, I did tarot for years. I like playing cards better. We actually, one of my students, her name's Isla, she did a custom deck for us where it's kind of like the symbols are a little more scientifically arranged the way I teach in the class. And what I love about it, if I go somewhere, every one of my cards has a deck in the glove box. You know, so if I see something I want to buy it, or I meet a person and something comes up, I just reach into my glove box, cast the spread. I don't need internet to get online to cast a chart. I don't need to have my computer with. And I always tell people when I have my bad days that, oh, I'm just going to stick a deck of cards in my back pocket and wander around the world and do readings for fun, you know? Yeah. You know, one of my kids wants to learn this and just go to Europe, stick a card deck in your back pocket and do readings, you know? So cards are just such a great thing. And when you add the birth card system, you can do everything now. Because when you cast cards, usually you're limited to a short span of where you can predict or talk about a person. But when you know the birth spread, you can make predictions for any year you want. You can look into their past and help them about their past. And then you can make the connections. Oh, it's a Queen of Clubs that's giving you trouble. Who do we know in your life that's a Queen of Clubs, right? And then we find that person, and that's the person. So
can you help someone find their career and vocation with cards as well?
Yes. You can get a general idea about their vocation type with the cards. The techniques I use for that are derived from Jaimini Sutras. Jaimini branch of Vedic astrology is the branch of astrology that shows how to do career. As much of that as possible, I've brought into the card system to help guess careers. But we have to develop a little further to use all those Jaimini things. As it is, we're using, say, 60% of them, so we can get a good idea. But still, for predicting the exact career, Jaimini at this point will still work better. But like in lots of times, it's perfect. As you learn the card, it gets easier. Like my 10th cusp and my first cusp are in the 9 of diamonds. So in the card system, I know how I said the Akarna cards, the major arcana cards, are part of this system too. So red 9s are the Fool. And it's the Fool who's the great predictor.
Oh.
So I've got my K2, which is the planet of astronomy, in the 9 of diamonds, the card of the Fool, and my 10th cusp and my first cusp were there. So 9 of diamonds. I find a lot of good astrologers have 9 of diamonds. Some of my students, especially the ones I'm closer to, have 9 of diamonds. Ryan Kurzak is a 9 of diamonds. And 9 of diamonds is, what is the Fool? Well, how this works a lot is a Fool, the 9s are always deeply connected to something. The diamonds are the concrete reality. So when a person is deeply connected to the concrete reality, they just know what's going to happen. It gives that intuition to know what's going to happen. Sri Yukteswar was a 9 of diamonds. Okay. There's this other big famous guru right now, I remember his name, who's a 9 of diamonds. So like his birth card. My birth card's a 7 of clubs. I have my ascendant in 9 of diamonds with K2. So the 9 of diamonds is, he's deeply connected to something in a way that he just understands it without knowing why. Okay, so the 9 of diamonds looks at a chart and makes a concrete prediction, and it's pretty stupid. Think about what we're really saying. Your Jupiter's moving into Aries, so you're going to get married. It's like, what? And to give an example of the Fool, so one person I know who's a 9 of diamonds, he's a grumpy old man, and he's critical, he's racist, he's condescending, and he'll be walking behind a woman, and he'll say, see her butt? He's a dirty old man. He'll say, her butt's way too skinny. She'll have problems with children.
Wow.
And I'll be going, don't be ridiculous. Don't be so old-fashioned, you know? It's like, don't be stupid. And the way he says it is so critical, you just write him off. As it turned out, a few years later, she had major problems with children.
Wow.
So he just looked at her and knew this, but he didn't know why he knew.
He just
pinned it on the bum. So he blamed it on the bum. And that's what the best astrologers do. We know it's going to happen, right? And then we blame it on something in the chart.
Yes, you always can find in the chart something to explain it logically. Where did you get that conclusion from?
And see, the 9 of diamond is already connected to the concrete reality. It already knows. It's already connected to the concrete reality, but as our human side won't acknowledge that connection, and so we have to find an excuse for it. This person found the girl's bottom as an excuse. We use the horoscope, right? So you're going to find astrologers who have a 9 of diamonds are possibly very good predictors.
They intuitively know it. They just,
Yeah, not all of them, but if they have a 9 of diamonds in their spread that has Saturn Rahu in it, well, maybe not. But if they have a nice, pretty 9 of diamonds, it helps them just know things, okay? And then they blame it on something. So that's what being a Fool is. It's basically saying she's going to have a problem with kids because her butt is skinny. It's like, what's wrong with you? You're an idiot, right? That's what you think about that person. And then lo and behold, that happens. And I have seen a lot of 9 of diamonds people who have that ability. They'll say critical, crude remarks about people in a very prejudiced way. They don't want to listen to them, and it works. So there's one guy, whenever he told me to do something, I started doing it. If he says, do this, I said, okay, boss, I'll do it. And because I realized over my life, every time they told me to do something, when I did it, I should have. But because the reasons for telling me to do it were so stupid, I didn't do it. So I started doing it even if the reasons were stupid. And the big thing was, he told me I needed to get the highest car insurance possible. The overinsured, the underinsured motorist, the biggest car insurance possible. So I said, and his reasons for doing it were all about how evil the hospitals were and all this stuff, all these crude, conspiracy theory things, which I don't really get into. But I called my insurance agent the next day. I said, who's my insurance to the best you've got?
Yeah.
Well, when we got ran over 2 years ago on our bike ride, all that extra money ended up in my wife's pocket.
Wow. Yes, yeah. I remember.
So listening to the Fool, my wife got a big chunk of change for her broken bones that she wouldn't have got otherwise.
Oh, I better find myself a 9 of diamonds astrologer.
So that's the Fool. So when I see K2 connected to the 9 of diamonds and the career, I know that person's born to be an astrologer, as one example.
And you teach all those things in the course?
I taught basics of career. Career is very specific. Every career we need to dissect. Okay, you're an actress. And I dissected a few some of the more common careers. And in Gemini, I did the same thing. I dissected a bunch of careers. Once you know the basics, though, if you can think about, once you understand what you're doing and you know what the planets represent, you can figure it out. Like, for instance, one person said, what makes a plumber? I said, well, it has to be Mercury and Venus with the 3rd house and the 4th house. And then we got some plumbers charts and we looked, and that's what it was. Why that? Because Mercury rules containers, which is pipes. Venus rules water, which is, you know, in the pipes, right? Then the 4th house rules water, and the 3rd house, excuse me, rules like engineering and building something. So that's what it takes to be a plumber. You need Mercury and Venus both as career planets.
Wow.
And once you know the basics, you can always interpolate anything people ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, take a breather.
I wish I had some water here, but I don't. It'll go away. You say something good.
So people can, you have a Cards of Truth channel, and you can, that's where you teach all the, how many hours?
I got about, say about 200 hours of video, and that includes the cards casting course, the birth card course, the timing the birth card course, and then the relationship compatibility course. So it's 4 courses, probably a little less than 200 hours. Excuse me. Must have been a feather. I'll be right back.
Don't worry.
Okay, so I'm actually running a special on the card site now, that if you sign up for a year or 6 months of the cards, you also get a year or 6 months of the astrology videos. So it's basically a 2-for-1. It's usually $295 a year for one of them. Now you can get both at the same time for the same price, or half a year for $150. But for $300 in a year, a person can go through all those videos and learn a profound system of card casting and astrology, because this is an astrological system, this card system, that I really recommend to most people. When most people say, I want to learn how to do readings, I say, do the cards. Unless there's some specific they want that only astrology has, or if they just love astrology. Some people just love astrology. But I don't see there being a difference between the astrology and the cards. They're both astrology. You know, in astrology, we'll do progeny readings. We'll cast a chart for the moment.
Yeah, it's the same, very similar.
And that's the same as throwing these down. You know, we also have a deck we made that you can get at the site. We have a deck we made. One of the things you want your deck that you cast cards with, you want to make sure your kings have legs, or that you can tell which side's up. On modern decks, you can't tell the face cards if they're upside down or not. Well, we want to be able to see if the face cards are upside down, so we need to get a deck that has face cards with the heads at the top, right? So that's an important thing. And so for $300, an average person in a year's worth of time can learn this system well. A super crazy person who dives into it and forgets they have a life, in 6 months, no problem. And I've seen people do profound readings. I remember when Ganesha started working with the cards, just like instantly, he was like pulling things together and making connections, because he's just really smart, and he had a good astrology background too. But it's a simple, profound system that's easier than it. And one of the things that makes it easier is you get one spread every year. So that means you just focus on that spread that year. With the birth chart, like even like the astrology birth card chart and dashas, you've got the whole life in that chart. And now the dashas, you have to find out what part to pay attention to. It's hard. Whereas with this, it's just one spread, 13 cards that you focus on every year. to make your predictions. And it's just a beautiful system. I use it for my own predictions for my personal life more than I use Vedic astrology.
Oh, I can't wait to learn it now. You helped me. Like, I'm giving birth and I'm starting.
Okay.
Wow, thank you so much, Ernst. That it's a great offer as well. For $300, you make a career out of it for 1 year.
Yeah. And the people who want to get both the astrology videos and the cards videos, they should email me for the details of that. Okay.
I'll put those details below on the video.
Yeah, they can just email me for that.
The websites and everything that people can get
Sure.
through you. And maybe hopefully we'll also have you soon for you to talk about astrology as well.
We can what?
Maybe we can have you soon to talk on the channel about astrology as well.
Yeah, we definitely we're doing a lot of things, exciting things with astrology, especially in the medical astrology.
Oh, that's something. There's a lot of conflicting information as well. I've taken a few medical astrology courses, and everyone teaches it so differently. So.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but we're focusing more on what's making the person sick. And by health, I don't just mean physical sickness though, but mental and emotionally too. So what's keeping a person, from being happy? What's keeping a person from doing what they want to do in their lives? That also is a disease,
Avashtas, isn't it?
Avashtas, and also we're using Vargas and Avashtas and Rahu, of course.
Rahu.
Of course, right?
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you again so we can speak.
We'll talk again.
Ernst is constantly innovating, is constantly researching, taking it to the next level. Every time we see each other, he's developed a new system. He's discovered something new about astrology, translated, decoded. So he is a kind of this inexhaustible source of inspiration there. And thank you so much, Ernst, for introducing to us the cards of truth. A very exciting system, and thank you for developing it as well.
Well, I hope you have time to get into it now, and we'll have more fun then.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And I'll see you very soon.
Namaste. Bye-bye.